Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. This is the beginning of April, so I'm doing a wrap-up in this video for March, and then I will hopefully also do a video with some TBR for April. So theoretically, maybe tonight there will be 2 videos. And hopefully I'll be getting more videos more regularly for April. Because I won't have a birthday in the way. Those get so messy for trying to do videos. Anyway, so I finished a bunch of books. I've not really counted them yet, but I finished a lot of books. The last few books that I finished are these guys that didn't make it into the last video. So I finished the 3rd book in the, what is he calling it? The something trilogy. Licinius trilogy? I think it's Licinius trilogy. One of the things I noted throughout the trilogy, James Islington's trilogy, is that he makes up all these names that when you look at them on the page and you listen to them in the audiobook, I guess that's the same dude. It's a common failing in epic fantasy that a lot of authors try to be overly creative with names. Brandon Sanderson being another one that he's great. I like his books, but sometimes I would like names that I can guess how they're pronounced. So anyway, so I think it's the Licinius trilogy, but I'm really not sure. And I had issues with the trilogy for other related things too. But I will get into that. I finished Lost by James Gregory Maguire. Easily the weakest book I've read by Maguire so far. I finished Killing Kennedy by Bill O'Reilly and Wicked by Gregory Maguire. And I also finished a few more audiobooks. But those are the last books on my physical stack that get to go away. The thumbnail for this video shows the whole stack, relative to me holding the whole stack of books going away. And I'm thinking about if I can find one of my rulers, or even better yet would be a cloth tape measure, because that way it can go more than 12 inches easily. So that for the next year, till my next birthday, so April to the end of next March, I can measure the stack of books that I finished that are actually physical books. Because the Read What You Own challenge, which was supposed to terminate at the end of March, it went okay. I have not counted. Did not reach 200. I can already say that. As some people pointed out, it's not like I really have an issue with owning a lot of books. The way I do books is very much in keeping with my almost non-existent income, and wanting to acquire the books when I can, and have them on hand when I want to read them without having to worry about cost. So in that approach, only owning a few books and going out and buying more when you're ready for more doesn't work. Even for people that are buying books used, if you have enough money to be not worried about the cost of your used books, you have more money than I've got, just across the board. So, I don't know if there are other booktubers that are in my economic bracket, if that's even a thing, but I'm adjusting some expectations, um, explicitly, not just in my own head, about how I'm approaching some of the challenges and things. Um, because the way I do books is based on an economic reality that I don't think is quite the same as a lot of other booktubers. I'm not saying they're all rich, but I am saying that my level of not having an income seems to be kind of unusual in booktube. So, anyway, um, yeah. So, this is a stack of books that's going away. It is big. I will stand up with them. You can get a better sense. The books that are going away. So, yeah, if I find my cloth tape measure, I will measure the height of this stack. And at the end of the month, each month, I'll measure the stack and see how many books are going away. Because that's kind of the measure that I'm more interested in is how much shelf space did I liberate in the course of reading the books that I read for the month. Um, and not as a, I need to have this target to be on track sort of thing, just as a fun thing. Because obviously other stuff comes up. I didn't think I'd be able to find a lot of the Women's Prize long list books, so I wasn't really anticipating reading a lot of those in March. And then I found 8 of them, one of them in print from the bookstore I volunteer at, and the other 7 as audiobooks that I could stream from our local library. So all of a sudden, my plans changed a little bit because I actually did finish half of the long list. So that was fun. And one of my top picks made the short list. So that was nice. Not both, unfortunately, but I wasn't sure about the other one anyway. I really liked Fundamentally and The Dream Hotel. And of the two, Fundamentally is on the short list. It's really good. And The Dream Hotel is not on the short list. It is sort of sci-fi, which is why I figured it might not end up on the short list because I was surprised to see that sort of subgenre of literary fiction on the long list to begin with because it's not very commonly included. I didn't think it was actually sci-fi. It was close. Like there's ways that they're using AI and other technology that we don't currently do. But as soon as the Trump regime started building up steam and momentum and all, actually what we're doing and what's in that book are not that different. There's differences in the details, but not in terms of one being far future and the other one being current. Dream Hotel is totally possible with our technology. So anyway, so I thought it was interesting, and yeah, and of the short list, I only have to read 2 that I haven't already read. The one by Elizabeth Strout, which I've heard kind of mixed reviews from. Most of the people I actually know that read the long list found it really tedious. But I've seen some positive reviews of it. So I'm curious to see how I like it, because some of those people that liked it, I've not really read books to compare our tastes yet. And then the other one that I need to read is The Safe Keep, which I've heard good things about. But I don't have access to either one right now. So, yeah. And I'm going to try and read the rest of the long list. But I'm going to wait and just let them show up. Because I work in a used bookstore as a volunteer. So obviously with it being used, it takes some time for books to trickle into a used bookstore. So I found The Ministry of Time at the used bookstore. But it's been out for a while, and I actually have not finished it. I got stalled out on it, and I just wasn't motivated to finish it. So I will get to it in April, just to be done with it. But it didn't make the short list anyway, so I'm good. And yeah, it's also sci-fi, so yeah, not a surprise it didn't make the short list. Yeah. So anyway, I finished Wicked, which I finished the rest of that series already and had not read the first book. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, I realized that I was confused about things that I shouldn't be if I already knew the story. So obviously Wicked has to be a little different from what I was expecting in order for the other books to make any sense. Which it was. And I will need to revisit the rest of the series at some point. Yeah, it was okay. I liked it better than some of my friends did, so that was interesting. I thought that Elphaba's interesting as a character, and the politics was fun. I did really enjoy that, and I needed the politics for extra points for Team Monarch for Realmathon, which I don't know at the moment whether we did well in that or not. It is Wednesday still. Yes, it is still Wednesday. And the cutoff for submitting books for Realmathon was today. So I'm hoping I'll know soon how Team Monarch did. But I think we did okay. Yeah, I have no idea. It actually was one of those readathons where I felt less connected to the event. I had friends that were on my same team that I interacted with over the month, but I could easily have forgotten that we had a readathon going on, which was not the case last month. Last month's readathon, I was very much involved, and I felt like I was, a part of a team. This one, yeah, we had Team Monarch. I vaguely know who else was in my team. But even in the chats on the sprints, I really didn't feel like it made a difference what team I was on. It was just a matter of which team I logged books for. So that was a little frustrating. I did like the teams having different things that they got extra points for. I always like that. And I appreciated the politics part being one of them. So that's nice. But I'm going to be watching for some other events next year and see what other things I want to try. I like competitive readathons though, so if I don't find something I like better that's also a competitive readathon, I'll just stick with it. But I may also incorporate other reading events that are going on at the same time, just in the expectation that it may not be as engaging as like Get a Clue readathon, which was a lot of fun. And I am hoping Tar, the amazing readathon, is also going to be as engaging as it was last year, because it was a lot of fun last year. So we'll see. And I might be watching for the Tarot readathon again this year, just as a random aside, because I got a tarot deck for my birthday from Coda. Thank you, Coda. So I have a tarot deck, which I didn't have last year. And that'll make it easier to do a tarot readathon, because I'm not going to have to be reliant on the computer. So that'll be nice. Anyway, Killing Kennedy by Bill O'Reilly. My least favorite of the Killing series so far. It was still good. It's less engaging than the other Killing books. Maybe because it's more recent. Maybe because there's still controversy about what actually happened with Kennedy. Although it seemed like there was probably not much mystery left, according to this narrative. It seemed pretty nailed down. So, if there's any doubt, it would be over whether there's more than one person involved, how much the Russians were involved. It certainly seemed like the Russian connection was an interesting one. But beyond that, I don't know. It may just be it's not far enough in the past. So maybe a similar book in another 50 years will be more satisfying. Then Lost by Gregory Maguire. It was just a book. I don't know. I was expecting it to be a lot better than it was. I found a lot of other reviewers on Goodreads that said kind of the same thing I said, and it just wasn't that exciting. It was disappointing, as a matter of fact, because Gregory Maguire usually does a lot more likable books. So, yeah. In the back of the book, it references As By It. I could see that, but By It's better. Yeah, so I think this was trying something different, and it just didn't work. Okay, so then we have the Lycanius trilogy. Let's see if we can find where it actually says what trilogy it is. Yeah, Lycanius trilogy. That's one thing. The front cover, if it's going to be a trilogy with a name on it, I want it big enough that I don't have to go looking for the name of the trilogy. That's just annoying. This trilogy was really nice for points. Because look at how fat they all are. Oh my goodness. And there's urban settings. A lot of it is very much urban. Although I don't know if I claimed points for that because it also has a lot of non-urban settings too. So I debated on that because I was already getting a ton of points per book. Because there's also tons of politics and it's a made-up setting. So that was nice. Besides the names, I had issues with this series because I was way too lost for way too long in this book, or in these books. The magic system was too complicated to the point where I don't think the characters had any clue how it worked. Any of them. So they couldn't explain it to the reader, and the reader obviously can't figure it out because nobody knows what's going on. And while that may be realistic, it's really frustrating. And there wasn't much of a sense of learning about the powers or the magic or whatever is going on. There'd be little bits and pieces that they would learn and then they'd unlearn them. Like, oh, that's not how it works after all. That's great. You can only do that a few times without pissing off your readers. Oh my goodness. Pick a magic, stick to it. Maybe they don't understand it right. But if they find out that they were wrong, they need to find out what the right answer is then. So that we also know a little bit more of how it actually works. And there was a little bit of that. By the end of the third book, we're starting to have some glimmer of an understanding of what the hell is going on and how the magic works. So, yeah, that was really frustrating. If you like books like that, you'll love this series. And there's a lot of grim stuff, a lot of people dying. Not everybody that dies actually dies, so you get a chance to have them die multiple times, which Could be cool, I guess. But it was a really unsatisfying trilogy. And maybe I'd read more set in this world, but I'd hope that there's a little more explanation then of what the world is doing and, like, yeah. What is the world? Is it even real? And there's enough doubt to not even be sure what's real and what's not. If it is real, is there just one world, or are there more than one world? How does time work? Is there a linear progression of time, or is it kind of a wibbly wobbly, timey wimey sort of thing? You know? I don't know what's going on in these books. So that was annoying. But I found them on audiobooks so I could listen while I was, cleaning my room and stuff like that. I did a lot of crochet while listening to these. So that got me through some of the frustration where I might have DNF'd if it was just reading them. I did read chapters here and there when I needed to do something away from my computer and could bring my book along. So it was nice to have both. And I got these books off of a free shelf because they got humidity warped and the bookstore couldn't market them very successfully. So I'll probably just put them back on the free cart and somebody else can adopt them. If my sister doesn't want to read them, we'll see. But they are done. They can go away. Let's see if I can stack these without them all falling off. That is the fun part with a tall stack. There we go. All right. So I've also been working my way through the BookTube Prize long lists. They have different terminology because they have quarterfinals and then semifinals and then semi-quarter, I don't remember. But they start out with 48 books and then they cut it to 24 books, which is the phase we're at right now, I guess. And then they cut that in, I think, half to 12 books and keep going. I've thought about being a judge for that. I'm not sure if I can get the books, so that may still be a pipe dream for now. But in the meantime, I'm reading what I can of the current list, so the 48 that are nominated and being judged for 2025. And I'm also working on the books from the last 2 years that I can get a hold of, because that's more likely. Even then, I'm going to have to wait until they show up at the bookstore or something for a lot of them. So I think this one actually is from this year's list. I'm pretty sure this is one. Yeah. So Strange Eventful History by Clara. It was good. It was okay. I don't think I would make it one of the top 3 for the year. So I'll be curious to see where it places. I don't remember if it made the cut for the current, like the 24 or not. I'll have to look. But I might hold on to this one and pass it on to my sister once I know where it stands on that whole judging thing. But it will go to her eventually. This one, the pages are coming loose. So however they did the binding in this edition, it fell apart really quickly. So the bookstore couldn't handle it. It's literally falling apart. Whatever glue they used, I don't think they used the right glue. Anyway, if your book is doing that, then obviously it was just that batch that they didn't do it right, or it was too humid for the glue to set, or something. Who knows? But that one, and let's see. I think that's the only one from that prize list that I had in print. I read some others from that list, but not in print. And then there's Doctor Who Deep Time. Just a fun Doctor Who book. I didn't think it was memorable, but it was okay. I like the way Claire is written a lot more than I like the way Amy tends to be written. So I appreciated that it was a book with Claire as the companion. Because Amy tends to have very few different words. It's mostly just her yelling doctor at different moments, which gets old. But anyway, I finished a YA book, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which is very pretty and was disappointing. I do still have book 2, and I will probably finish it, maybe for Tar, because it might fit with prompts that'll come up during that. And then I'll be done with it, and it can go away too. And then the 2 other Killing books, Killing Patton and Killing England. And I also finished Killing the Rising Sun. I finished in audiobook only. I thought about borrowing it to show it on camera, but I didn't grab a copy before I left the bookstore last. And then I did get Killing the SS that I will be starting soon. It's not really about any particular person, I'm guessing, but maybe. So I was thinking, it's kind of a People April sort of book. But I'll get to the April books in the next video. So, in addition to these, I pull up my Goodreads and talk through the ones I haven't mentioned yet briefly. Yes, keyword briefly. And see how many books total I finished. So I finished The Shadow of the Wind right at the start of March. That one, I didn't count it for any particular month, because I read it starting in January, I think, and it was a buddy read that kind of got away from us, and yeah, so it's done. I had to give it back to the bookstore. It has left my possession. It was okay, 4 stars. I was hoping for more, but it was okay. Middle of the Night by Riley Sager was good. I gave it 5 stars. My first Riley Sager, and I liked it enough to read more. I finished All Fours by Miranda July and gave it 3 stars and felt generous. I did not like that book. Nesting by Rajin O'Donnell? Probably Rajin. 4 stars from me. Not a favorite, but it was okay. One I just didn't connect with, but it was a decent book. The Persians by Sanam Maluji. Yes. Sanam Maluji. This one's one that made the shortlist. I liked it. I gave it 5 stars, but I have heard other reviews that are definitely fair that were not anywhere near as glowing. I enjoyed it. I read or listened to Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I know there's drama about her. I understand it. I wish some authors would just stick to writing books and not do so much public speaking, because writing and public speaking are 2 totally different things. But be that as it may, I liked Dream Count. I gave it 5 stars. I tend to enjoy her books, so I was kind of expecting it to be a pretty high star rating, and it was. It does have issues. Probably it's more like a 4.75, but The Persians is also probably 4.75 if I was doing quarter stars. Fundamentally by Nasiba Yunus. This one was 5 stars for me. Great book. It ended up in the shortlist. Definitely deserved it. Good Girl by Aria Aber. did not like. Is it Arya or Arla? Anyway, I did not like Good Girl. 3 stars, felt generous. It is on the shortlist, of course, along with All Fours. Of course they are. But I'm glad that I already read them, and I don't have to. Dream Hotel by Laila Lalani was 5 stars from me. Highly recommend. Didn't make the shortlist, but that's okay. It's still really good. I listened to Ministry of Truth by Steve Bannon. 4-star nonfiction kind of political commentary about democracy and Republicans and stuff. I studied political science in grad school, so that shows up sometimes in what I'm focused on. I finished a reread of The Way of Kings, book 1, in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. And I am working my way through to get to book 5. My other birthday present from Coda was book 5, in a nice hardback that will look really nice on my shelf with book 2, which is the other one I currently own, an actual physical book. But I listened to the audiobook for Way of Kings. When I read it the first time, I read it with eyeballs. I hadn't been into audiobooks yet, and it was a library book. So, yeah, it was interesting listening to the audiobook because that was my first time with that audiobook. Then I started on some of last year's Women's Prize books. So I listened to The Wren by Anne Enright, which I gave 4 stars. It was okay. I wouldn't have, nominated it for awards, but it was an okay book. One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. This was a great book. It came out in February of this year, so it's a new book. And I highly recommend it. It is very much worth reading for anyone who's paying attention to anything going on in the last year or so. It is nonfiction. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's not a very long one. Then I did Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear by Shannon McGuire. This is one that I actually had gotten as a NetGalley arc. And I immersion read it in combination with the audiobook. So that one was fun. I'm still not sold on the turtles. My other sister, really likes the turtles. I am okay with the turtles, but it was a good book. Then we have The Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare, which is book 2 in the Chronicles of Castellane. I don't remember how they said it in the audiobook, but this is book 2. I did book 1 last month, and they were both as streaming audio, so they were good. 5 stars, or maybe 4.5 stars rounded to 5. Then Killing the Rising Sun by Bill O'Reilly, which was really good, 5 stars. Ragpicker King, the Chronicles of Castellane. A name thing. Oh my goodness. Once again, but this one was way easier to follow in terms of magic systems, even though it's still complicated. The way that the magic works in this series is still something with a definite learning curve. But these are shorter books, on the order of 400 to 500 pages instead of 600 to 900 pages. And despite the shorter books, I did not feel lost for more than maybe the first 40 pages in the first book. Because it gets you up to speed, introduces introduces you to the concepts by having a character that's being introduced to the concepts, and then you're good and you can follow the series. That's how you do it. Anyway, grumble, grumble, grumble. I finished Interghost by Isabella Hamad, which I know some of my friends on BookTube did not like. I thought it was okay. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't something that I would, again, nominate for awards, but I enjoyed it. I would recommend it to some of my friends, just not all of them. Yeah. And then I have Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was an interesting book for thinking about how Arnold Schwarzenegger gets from being a bodybuilder and movie star to being a governor. That is a bizarre turn of events. So, yeah, that was an interesting one. It was only 4 stars for me, but still, if you're into kind of autobiographical, memoirish sort of inspirational books, this is actually a fun one. Just because it was such an interesting episode in real life history. And I finished Cage of Souls by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which was 5 stars. I still pretty much rate all of his books 4 to 5 stars just across the board. I don't remember if I've read a book by Tchaikovsky yet that I didn't give at least 4 stars to. So he may be one of my favorites. I'll have to look and see if the numbers pan out, but definitely a good book, and I would recommend it. Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks. This is a memoir about Geraldine Brooks losing her husband, who is Tony Horowitz, also an author, and I did not know they were together. So that was interesting in and of itself. And it's in the similar vein to Joan Didion's A Year of Magical Thinking. And she does reference that book in there. So if you're looking for books dealing with loss and grief and recovering from loss, this is actually a really good one. I gave that one 5 stars. I think Year of Magical Thinking, it might have been more of a 4.5 star. I really liked Memorial Days. It was really good. And then I did All the Water in the World by Erin Kaufel. This one I gave 5 stars, and I would have nominated this book for Women's Prize. Frankly, this was a strong book. And I would have also nominated The Strange Case of Jane O, except that it's not by, oh, is it? It is by a woman. It's by Karen Thompson Walker. So I was looking at the name wrong. Yes, so it's also by a woman. So I thought. So those are 2 books I would have nominated for Women's Prize that I thought were better than most of the books I read for the Women's Prize long list. So those are All the Water in the World by Erin Kaufel and The Strange Case of Jane O by Karen Thompson Walker. Those were both 5 stars for me. Literary fiction. All the Water in the World is climate fiction future, kind of dystopia, not quite dystopia, because the disaster is still happening. But they get the science right enough that it's not painful anyway. Maybe we'll find out in another 10 years they got some of it wrong. But it's on the order of it actually reads true. And I studied environmental science as an undergrad for 4 years or 3.5 years. And I've been, keeping up with it ever since, and did 2 years of physics. So there are quite a few books in this subgenre that bug me because they get the science so wrong that I can't stand to read them. This one was good. And it wasn't really about the science. It really was about dealing with disaster and, you know, keeping your identity in the face of something like this. It was really good. And not everything floods. If you've read Flood by... I blanked his name. I don't want to know. Anyway, it's one where somehow there's this pocket of water under the crust of the planet. How? How did we not know? Somehow we don't know. And the water starts bubbling up and drowns everything until there's literally no land left. Like, we would have noticed if there was that much water under the crust in the planet. I think by now we have the tech to know that that's not how the planet works. That was a frustrating book. This one, night and day. It was so much better. Anyway. I finished Rabbit Run barely in time, but I did finish it. 3.5 stars rounded to 4. I'm not a John Updike fan, but I had to read it 4 points in March, so I did. It was okay. His writing is nice. It's just not a favorite. And then the last book I finished in March was Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. This one was 3.75 stars rounded to 4. Not a huge favorite. I would not have nominated it for anything. Obviously, it's been nominated for things. It was okay. And that was my month. So let's see how many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, if we count The Shadow of the Wind, which, no, I'd say 33. So, 33 books for March. Pretty good. And I will put these books away and let this video upload and figure out what I'm going to talk about for my TBR video, because I am going to make one for, let's say, the first 2 weeks of April. We won't think too big on this. 2 weeks worth of TBR for April. So I will see you in the next video. And, oh yeah, I will show you the cup that I chose for this week, because it's right here. It is Wednesday. So this is a cup that I found today. It's a handleless mug, but it is a mug. And it has the bottom the way they do in a lot of the East Asian teacups, but it's mug-sized. So I found this one for 80 cents at a thrift store today. So that's my mug this week. I will do a video showing all the mugs for the first 3 months of this year, because I have been doing it. I just haven't been doing them on screen. So that will also be coming soonish. But I do have them, and it should be fun. And I might also combine that with my favorite books for the first quarter for 2025. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next video. Happy reading, everyone!